Good evening, y'all. This is Space Marine 2112 here with another video of album ranking slash tier list. We're doing something a little bit different today. Not a lot of people have done this on YouTube, but we are doing a Skillet album ranking today. Something that, again, most people have not really done. I was kind of inspired recently. I went to Winter Jam, and Skillet obviously was the headliner for it. A lot of great bands there. There was Colton Dixon and what was it? Amy. I can't remember the name of it. Again, I had never really heard of her much before, but she was pretty darn good. Ann Wilson. Good kind of country Christian artist. You know, again, I really like these Christian bands, especially when they start getting rocking. And that's what we have here, a pretty hard rockin'. I don't know if they're really considered heavy metal or not. I'd say some of their stuff is getting pretty darn close to that, if nothing else. But we got a great band here, a lot of great albums. Thought it'd be kind of fun to rank them. I know they're probably going to keep coming out with albums, so I might have to do another one of these videos in the future. But was kind of inspired to do this tonight, and I thought it'd be kind of fun. Anyway, I got my drink of the night is a good Syrah here that we got going on. Syrah wine, kind of a dry red. So we should be having a good time. So anyway, I guess we'll get going here. First, on this particular list here, I'm just using a template that I got off of TierMaker. We've got Rise. Great album. A lot of good songs on it. As a matter of fact, the title track was one of the first ones that I heard. That and Not Gonna Die Tonight are just excellent songs that very unforgettable type songs that like really got me into the band. This was like kind of earlier on when I was starting to finally listen to them. I had never really heard of them much before this. They got Sick of It. Great song as well. Circus for a Psycho. I'm just going through all the songs here. Some of them, I love Jen Ledger's voice, so stuff like Salvation and Fire and Fury are pretty good. It is not their greatest album, though. I was going to try to do 3, 3, 2, 2, 2. I think that's 3, 3, 2, 2, 2. Yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to add up here. Rise, with the albums that we got coming up next, I got to put it at a B. As much as I like the album, I mean, all their stuff, I would say from Collide onward is great. They don't really have any bad album. Okay, their earlier stuff they're not refined in any way. So I would say they've gotten better since their first album. Obviously, I would say from Alien Youth onward was really when they started getting going, and then Awake is just they got really killer. Rise is very good. It is not at the top of their level. I think it's after Awake it was kind of a step down. But again, this is when I started getting into them. I started looking back at their previous albums at this point, and I was like, dang, I did not know a Christian band could rock so much. And here we are today listening to them, and I'm like, dang, still just getting me into it, man. Getting me hyped for the Lord, you know? So, yeah, I mean, this was a great album for me just to kind of like get me into the band, but looking back on it, there's better albums now. So I got to put it at a B. That being said, Alien Youth, I'm probably also going to put at a B, probably very, very close to this, to be, believe it or not. I like the song Alien Youth. I like Earth Invasion. I like The Thirst Is Taking Over. One Real Thing is a really good song. The other songs on the album are just kind of they're decent. Certain ones of them are a little bit weirder than others. This is they were still kind of in a very electronic-y kind of heavy electronic kind of mixture hybrid thing going on there. I'm used to the album cover that actually doesn't have all the pixelated face here. The first time I saw this album cover, it was what was it? John Cooper, I think is his name is. Yeah, it was his face was not pixelated. So that's the album cover that I know best for this, but I guess this is the one that's most common. So when I first listened to this album, I thought it was pretty decent. I thought that this was like a huge step up from their previous stuff. It's got some really good songs on it. I think One Real Thing could be just like a normal, like just rock and worship song that anyone could listen to. Some of the other stuff is a little bit more heavy, kind of like they're more, kind of more their sound. But yeah, I thought, again, both of these albums are great. I almost redid the tiers here to just be all like A's, B's, and maybe some C's. But I don't know. I think this is pretty fair because we're going to be getting to like their first and second album and stuff, and then those they're just not quite as refined. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Next, Collide. I would say this might be their heaviest album. They were just straight, just guitars, drums. Like there wasn't much keyboard in this album at all. It's like they did a complete, 180 from this album, and they were like, okay, we're just gonna go heavy. I mean, they got like songs on there like "Skin," I think is one of the names, right? "Under My Skin," yeah. I mean, and again, all these songs are just heavy, kind of raspy on John Cooper's voice. I mean, this is just a heavy album. It's a great album. Got a lot of great songs, and I think the first one I heard was "Savior." Great song. "Forsaken's" good. The song that the title track "Collide" is a great song. Just a lot of really heavy, good songs in this. Nothing that I would consider to be a radio hit, though, like the ones that were to come. But, I mean, still, an album that I would consider, if, Skillet had a classic album, per se, I would say this should be considered in it. I know that Awake and Comatose are, like, the classic albums for Skillet. Everything has been pretty new. Like, even like this, for instance, what was it, Back from the Dead? I keep no, Unleashed. I mean, this is from like 2017. That's like not, well, gosh, well, no, okay, 2016. Then there's the special edition that was 2017. Gosh, that's dang 9 years ago now, making me feel old here. Even this I would not consider to be a classic album though. It's still like new enough that you're like, oh, that's one of their newer albums. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of weird for me to rank these because like all these feel new to me because they've all been in my lifetime, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, that's actually older than I thought it was. So okay, anyway, back to Collide. I think Collide should be in the A category for now because unlike the Rush list, I'm trying to do these now just dynamically from like the onset. I'm not gonna like try to rank these before and then take a picture of it and do it the exact same way. I wanted this to kind of be a surprise. Might have to move them around a bit as I go, but I mean, me listening to this album here, I would give it an A. So that's where I'm going to put it for now. Kind of same with Dominion here. I mean, you go through Dominion, and we got, Surviving the Game is a great song. Dominion, the song, is a great song. Standing in the Storm's decent. You got The Valley of Death, Beyond Incredible, Destiny, Refuge. I'm just going through all the songs here. Which ones do I have added to my playlist? And I pretty much have all of them. White Horse is okay. Again, I have almost all the songs of this album on my playlist. It's I think it's actually Victorious and this were a heavier step up from Unleashed even. And they're all heavy. But I really liked this album. I'm going to put it as an A as well for now. We'll kind of see how that factors in later on. But yeah, I like a lot of these albums. I mean, if you're like someone like me who, yes, likes the worship of the Lord, but at the same time wants some frickin' heaviness or like some progressive rock. I mean, we'll get to Neil Morrison, another tier maker. I want something. I mean, again, if I'm in church, I want worshipy type songs. When I'm out of church and I'm like in the car, I want to listen to some stuff that's like really upbeat and just going hardcore, or something that I got to really listen to. And Skillet it's driving, it's heavy, it's everything I'm really looking for with the lyrics that I like to sing to. So, again, all this is just fantastic. But then we get to their second album, and, I've listened to it again. I had to listen to it again before this particular tier maker episode. It's okay. It's again, none of their albums are bad, but I wouldn't even say from Skillet, their first album, this is kind of a step down. They're experimenting a bit more with the kind of electronic-y, kind of, not like dubstep. I don't know what you would call it, like electro. I don't know. They got a lot of weird, like keyboardy type of things in here, kind of following that alt rock keyboard scene, and it's not quite for me, to be honest. I don't even know. There's no songs that I have on this album that are actually on my playlist because even though I've listened to them, they're just not quite there. I mean, the title track is okay. Your Love Keeps Me Alive is okay. It's okay. I mean, again, they don't play anything from before Comatose live anymore, and there's probably a good reason for that. Again, I wish they would play some of Collide. I wish they would have played some of Alien Youth, but I mean, again, these were different band members at that time, and it's a different sound than what they came out to later. This is a really different sound than what they eventually had, so I gotta put this down in D. It's just not something I come back to, and I have none of their songs from that album. Now, then we come to Victorious, and it's a whole different deal here. I mean, this is from 2020, or 2019, I guess. I got to go off of the original album. I mean, Spotify makes it hard because they have the special version or the deluxe edition as the first thing that appears. But, I mean, this has got Legendary, You Ain't Ready, Victorious, This Is the Kingdom, Save Me, Rise Up. I have every single one of these songs on at least my Christian rock playlist. And that shows you something. I mean, every single song is at least listenable to some degree for either worshiping or just like, head banging in the car. I mean, this album is stacked from head to toe, and I gotta say, this is probably at least at the top of my A. It might even be. I'm gonna put it at S for now. It's got the big S on the cover too. It kind of fits in with what I'm saying. And that makes these two easy too, because I gotta be honest, Awake and Comatose were the first two that I ever heard any songs from. As a matter of fact, the first song that I ever heard from Skillet was Falling Inside the Black from Comatose. Just great songs. I mean, these are like, when you think of like killer, like top shelf Skillet, you're looking at these two albums here. I mean, Awake has got all their classic, like, Monster's their biggest hit, obviously. They played it every single time I've seen them live. Awake and Alive is great. Forgiven, Sometimes, Lucy. I mean, all these songs are great. Okay, there's a couple, like Don't Wake Me. I don't remember much of that. It's Not You, It's Me. Or, Not Me, It's You. That one's decent. Again, even the songs you don't hear much on this album, that you go back and kind of do a deep listen to, they're decent. I don't really know much that is bad on this album, nor Comatose, to be honest. I'm kind of pairing these two together because these are like the two you go to if you're first listening to Skillet, like Rebirthing, The Last Night, Better Than Drugs, Comatose, Falling Inside the Black. Whispers in the Dark was like one of the first songs as well. That and Falling Inside the Black were like the first two I ever heard. Looking for Angels is great. The only three I really don't know off of this album are Yours to Hold, The Older I Get, Those Nights, and Say Goodbye. I think those are kind of more, I wouldn't really say ballady for them, but I think those are more kind of calm. And maybe I didn't listen to those at the time. I probably need to listen to them again. But, I mean, if you're looking for, like, the hits, when you're looking for, like, their quintessential albums, these are the two that are going to be in the quintessential album category. I got to put them both at S tier. And this is when it gets difficult, because these two I could go between every single day. They both kind of sound very similar. I mean, you got Gin Ledger and Awake, probably why I'll put that slightly ahead. To be honest, I have a very lovely life, lover. I used to kind of have a crush on Gin Ledger though, because you got a Christian rock female drummer that could sing. I mean, come on now. I can't let that affect my decision too much. I just think this album is a great album. Comatose is another great album, and then Victorious is also. So I think the S tier is pretty well in stone that I can think about here. Um, Invincible, I listened to this right before I did this album ranking here. Just a lot of. I mean, it's like they took the electronic stuff and it's like this is the direction that we are going to go, and that's kind of what this is. I don't have any songs off of this album either that are in my playlist. Um, some parts of it sound decent. It's just as a whole, it's not something. I mean, maybe it was a product of the time. I think that was what was it, 90s still at that point? No, it was 2000. Again, it's kind of the 1990s to early 2000s kind of alt rock kind of techno, no, not really techno keyboard. I don't really know what you would call it. I don't know what the genre is exactly. I'm more into the prog rock genre, if I gotta be honest, but love Skillet. These two albums just don't quite do it for me. It's a little bit weird. Different members of the band at the time, obviously. It's just not quite there for me, be honest. Um, then we get to their first album. Now, here's the difference here. The first album, it's a little bit more. It's still not refined, really. I would say not as much keyboard though. It's more kind of like heavy, grungy, kind of raspy. I don't know. I like it better than their next two albums, which is kind of weird to say. Normally, if a band is trending in a certain direction, you would say that, okay, their later albums are better, and they are. But in terms of these first three, I would say that the first album is the best. Again, there's much more to go. I actually have My Beautiful Robe on my playlist. I Can is okay. There's some other songs, Safe With You, okay. Again, there's a lot of songs on this album. They've got parts that are decent. I'm not crazy about his voice at this period of time. It was definitely not refined to the point that it would become. Again, you're like refined. He's like yelling now, and there's like that. Again, he's always got that raspiness and everything, but I think it goes better with what comes later than what he's trying to do in these earlier albums. So I'm gonna put it at C because I'm gonna try to do two, 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 three, three. Um, Unleashed, amazing album as well. I mean, the thing is stacked pretty well, I would say. I'm looking again, it's from 2016. Gosh dang. I mean, Feel Invincible, they still play all the time live. Back from the Dead, Stars, I Want to Live is great. Undefeated, Famous, Line. I mean, I can't really think. The Resistance, one of the greatest songs that they have. They play that all the time. And then the deluxe edition has like um, the girl from Flyleaf. I can't remember what her name is, but she's on what song was that? Yeah, Lacey Sturm. Yeah, she's on that Breaking Free song. That's a great song. You Get Me High is a great song. Set It Off is a great song. Again, that's this special edition. I don't know if I could really include those into my ranking, but this I gotta say this is at least in the middle of the A tier. Um, Now I'm thinking about it, this is a good. Again, they don't have like anything that's really bad. Um, so I got to think about this again, I guess, because this is gonna get interesting. This is like the brand new album, just came out not too long ago. You got to think about it. Like it takes a while for me to get into an album, and there's some good songs on this album that I've got on my playlist. There's Showtime, Unpopular, Revolution, Ash in the Wind. Um, I even kind of like Happy Wedding Day, even though that's for like his daughter or son or so. I don't know. Again, it's a good album. I just have not had the same time with this album that I've had with some of these other albums, so I have to put it lower. Um, just because I don't really have as much analysis on it. I haven't had as much time. It's not really baked into my mind. It's not like it's not a close friend like all these other albums have been to me. This one is just kind of it's good. It's very good, but it is not their quintessential albums. So it's kind of a difficult thing for me to have to do here. I'm gonna. Which one do I gotta. Okay. I'm gonna put Revolution. I'm gonna put it above Ride. Oh well. I can't do that. Okay, we're gonna put it like this. This makes sense to me. Um, yeah, I think Invincible's actually slightly worse than Hey You, I Love Your Soul. Again, I kind of listened to all these again when I was trying to make this judgment here. It's kind of hard to do with all these bands that I want to rank. They all just have stacked great albums. So it's very hard for me to do these rankings, especially off the cuff like this, which I thought this was more fun doing it off the cuff, to be honest. It's like Alien Youth. If we made it like 3 per row up here, I would definitely. I wouldn't say this is a C album, but for Skillet, it's got to be towards the bottom. It's just not quite there yet. And then Collide I have above these two, which some people are probably like, what the heck? I mean, aren't more of their hits off of these two? Yes, you're correct. They never play anything from Collide anymore. But if you go back and listen to Collide, this is a fan-frickin-tastic album. It's just heavy and like it's kind of rough sounding, but it's like in a good way. I mean, if you want just heavy, raw sounding Skillet, you go for this album. Again, still Christian. Nothing has changed in any of these albums. It's got got the same perspective still and everything. It's just a different sound. And man, I love the sound that they had on this album. I think this is when they really started to hit their stride. Comatose was next, and then you got Jen Ledger joining the band, and they go to Awake. I mean, everything from this point on I think is good. It's just a shame that, the sound does drastically change between these two, and so they only play from Comatose onwards now. And I would like to see them, like with any band, play some of their deeper, earlier cuts, but I don't think we're ever going to get that, so I guess we'll just stick with these albums here, these 7 albums that are kind of in this little range here. That being said, yeah, I really like this, and I like more of the songs on here than these two, but these two probably have more hits than this one, because this one doesn't really have any hits or singles. I mean, it probably had singles, but I mean, they're not really well known. So, probably kind of an unpopular opinion, but I think it should be up here. I think it kind of contends with the rest of them. It's a little bit of a different sound. So, yeah, that's my Skillet album ranking for the time being. I know there's going to be more albums. I know that in time I'll probably listen to this one more and more and develop more of an appreciation, and who knows, it could be up here. I mean, all these albums that are from B to S are just excellent albums. The albums down here, Alien Youth is decent. The first 3 albums, again, they're finding their stride. They're finding who they are. A little bit rough. Not great mixing, really, at the time. It's again, they have a very raw sound at this time. A lot of, like, really clanky kind of keyboards. I can't really describe it. It's just very... it's a different type of music for these two. This one doesn't really have the keyboards, but it's not quite the Skillet that I've grown to know and love. So I gotta rank it like this. So that's where I'm at tonight, and hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna try to do more of these ranking videos as we go forth. Always having a drink of the night. I gotta get some traditions going on here. Having a good time. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got here. I might do a Styx album ranking actually right after this, because I've been thinking about doing them for a while. One of my favorite bands. So we'll see what the night beholds. But anyway, have a nice night. Or day. I mean, I guess you could be watching this at any point. Aren't I just such the entertainer? Anyway, have a great day, and hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.